Have you ever asked yourself, what if everything you believe about reality is not true? What if the flow of time, the sequence of past, present, and future, is nothing more than a construct of your mind, a mental framework your consciousness uses to make sense of infinite possibility? Right now, as you watch this, your mind assumes continuity, a linear path. But what if that path is an illusion? What if every thought, every memory, every expectation of the future is already coexisting, not sequential, not fixed, but fluid and eternal? This is more than a philosophical question. It's a revelation. Your identity, the you that thinks, plans, fears, and desires, is anchored to this illusion of time. And yet, deep within, there's a hidden knowledge, a secret whisper, a mystical truth that says, you are not bound by it. You are not a passive observer of reality. You are the very architect of it. And in understanding this, you can awaken a power so profound that it bends the rules of existence itself. To understand the illusion of time, we must first confront the nature of the mind itself. Every moment that you believe you're experiencing is not a raw fragment of reality. It is a filtered, interpreted, and constructed image, a mental project shaped by memory, expectation, and perception. Your consciousness continuously weaves together fragments of sensory input, emotions, and thoughts to create a seamless story, a story in which events appear to unfold in a linear progression from past to present to future. This seamlessness is comforting because the mind craves coherence, but it is precisely this craving that hides the deeper truth. What you perceive as time is a cognitive framework, not an external force. Science itself, especially quantum physics, has begun to reveal the fragility of this framework. Particles at the quantum level do not obey the fixed, predictable rules of classical physics. They exist in multiple states simultaneously, a concept known as superposition, and only collapse into a defined state when observed. In other words, the reality you see is a reflection of your observation, a crystallization of infinite possibility. If matter behaves this way, then what does it mean for time itself, for the apparent sequential flow of cause and effect? If the fundamental building blocks of reality are not bound by chronology, can we truly say that time exists independently of the mind? Think of time not as a river flowing from one point to another, but as a shadow cast on the wall of consciousness. Shadows imply the presence of a light source, and the shape of the shadow depends entirely on the angle and the observer. In this analogy, the light is awareness, and the shadow is the linear progression of time. You experience it as real because your mind has agreed to give it form. Beyond this shadow, beyond the perception of sequential events, lies a vast, uncharted field of infinite potential, where every choice, every possibility, and every moment exists simultaneously, without beginning or end. Mystical traditions have long pointed toward this truth, describing time as an illusion and reality as a multidimensional tapestry in which all moments coexist. From the Upanishads to Kabbalistic teachings, from Sufi mystics to Tibetan Buddhism, the core message is consistent. Our experience of past, present, and future is a perception, a lens, a story we tell ourselves to navigate existence. The mystics call this the eternal now, a state in which one perceives the unity of all events as a single living whole. In this state, the boundaries of past regrets or future anxieties dissolve, and one becomes attuned to the timeless essence of consciousness itself. But this is not purely philosophical or spiritual, it has practical implications for how you live. When you recognize that time is an internal construct, the limitations imposed by deadlines, history, and expectation begin to loosen. Your mind is no longer trapped in the rigid sequence of cause and effect. It becomes a laboratory for creation, a field in which intention and attention shape reality. Moments of insight, intuition, and synchronicity are not random. They are reflections of this deeper truth, signals from the quantum field that respond to your awareness. Every act, every thought, every subtle shift in consciousness resonates across possibilities that are not yet happening in the linear sense, but are already present in the infinite canvas of existence. Understanding this illusion of time requires more than reading or thinking. It requires observation and experience. Begin to notice how your mind continually jumps between memory and expectation, replaying the past and projecting the future, rarely resting fully in what is. Watch this movement without judgment, as an impartial witness. Notice how each mental construct of past or future is weighted with meaning, how it shapes your emotions, decisions, and sense of self. Then consider this. If you can step back from the narrative your mind tells, if you can observe time as a construct rather than an absolute, what emerges is freedom. A profound freedom that allows your consciousness to perceive reality not as a sequence of moments, but as an expansive, interwoven continuum of infinite potential. Time, then, is a lens, a mirror, and a shadow, all at once. And the true revelation lies in realizing that the mind is not a passive recorder of reality, but an active creator of it. The linear story of cause and effect is a helpful illusion, a tool to navigate the human experience, but it is not the totality of existence. Behind the illusion, there is a vast and dynamic field of awareness, waiting to be observed, engaged with, and ultimately understood. In this realization, the boundaries between past, present, and future begin to blur, and the mind awakens to its own creative power, the same power that underlies the very structure of the universe itself. Here is the paradox that can completely shift your perception. The present as you know it does not exist. What you call now is not a single point fixed in reality. It is a constantly shifting intersection between what your mind remembers and what it anticipates. The past is reconstructed every time you think about it, colored by emotion and interpretation, while the future is projected from incomplete patterns, often distorted by desire or fear. And yet, your consciousness experiences both as if they were real, as if they are immutable truths. But what if neither exists outside of your perception? What if the linear flow from past to present to future is a convenient illusion, a cognitive tool that the mind uses to navigate infinite potential? When you begin to consider this, your sense of stability begins to falter. The mind clings to the familiar. I know my past. I can predict my future. I am in control. But quantum physics and consciousness research tell us that reality is not fixed. Observers affect outcomes. Possibilities exist in a superimposed state until perception interacts with them. In other words, the world around you is not a predetermined path. It is a field of probabilities waiting for your awareness to collapse them into reality. Suddenly, every decision, every moment of attention, every intention becomes an act of creation, not merely a response to circumstance. Imagine a river flowing in both directions at once, where the water that has passed and the water yet to come coexist simultaneously. Imagine a book that is already written in its entirety, every chapter existing at the same time, waiting only for your perception to open it. This is not metaphor. The quantum field, the foundation of matter and energy, behaves exactly like this. Events, probabilities, and outcomes exist simultaneously, and time is simply the lens through which your consciousness interprets them. This is the paradox that challenges everything your mind has believed to be stable. And yet, paradox itself is not a trap. It is an invitation. It is the friction of contradiction that opens the mind to deeper understanding. When you observe that past and future are constructs, that reality responds to attention and intention, and that the present is both fleeting and eternal, something extraordinary happens. The sense of separation begins to dissolve. You no longer experience reality as a line with a beginning and an end, but as an infinite field of interwoven possibilities, all accessible through awareness. Each thought, each focus, each subtle shift in perception becomes a doorway into a dimension where time is no longer a cage, but a canvas. The tension of this insight, the mental friction between what you thought you knew and what you are beginning to realize, is essential. It is what awakens curiosity, what forces you to question assumptions, and what disrupts the ordinary flow of consciousness. Without this tension, understanding remains superficial. With it, the mind begins to perceive that reality is not a static stage on which events happen, but a living, responsive mirror, reflecting consciousness back to itself. Moments of synchronicity, intuition, and insight are not random. They are signs that your awareness is beginning to interact with this deeper reality, that your perception is beginning to shape the unfolding of existence itself. Now consider the implications. If the present is not fixed, if the past and future are malleable, then the most powerful tool you have is not knowledge or logic, but awareness itself. Every subtle shift in attention, every act of observing without attachment, every intentional focus becomes a creative force. The mind begins to perceive its own power, not in dramatic external manifestations, but in the subtle shaping of the flow of possibilities. You are no longer a passive participant in the river of time. You are a conscious navigator, capable of bending currents, redirecting streams, and glimpsing horizons that were previously hidden. And yet, the paradox remains. You are both observer and participant, both within and beyond the flow of time. Reality is at once familiar and alien, stable and fluid, predictable and infinitely responsive. To embrace this paradox is to awaken the mind to its true nature. It is to see that time is not a master but a mirror, that your perception is not a window but the lens that shapes the entire universe, and that the deepest mysteries of existence are not hidden out there, but encoded in the very structure of your consciousness. Here is the truth at the center of all understanding, the insight that everything in this video has been building toward. Time is not an external ruler of reality. It is not a force that moves independently of you. It is not a sequence of events happening out there in some objective, measurable universe. Time is an internal projection, a construct of consciousness, a tool that your mind uses to organize perception. The past is not fixed. It is reconstructed each time you remember. The future is not predetermined. It is imagined, projected, and influenced by intention. And the present, the so-called now, is not a single point in a sequence but a dynamic, shifting intersection of possibilities, ever-changing and infinitely pliable. This realization shatters the most basic assumptions that govern human thought. The ordinary mind clings to chronology because it provides security, predictability, and a sense of control. We anchor ourselves to past experiences, fearing repetition of mistakes, or we obsess over future outcomes, chasing a certainty that does not exist. But when you perceive that these anchors are illusions, you are no longer bound by them. Your consciousness becomes a living field of creation, a medium through which reality itself is expressed. The very structure of existence, at the quantum level, responds to observation. Possibilities collapse into actuality, not according to a rigid sequence, but according to awareness, attention, and intention. Think about what this means. Every thought you entertain, every focus you maintain, every intention you carry is not merely personal. It resonates through the field of reality. Cause and effect are no longer chained by chronology. Synchronicities, moments of profound insight, déjà vu, sudden revelations, they are not coincidences. They are feedback from a universe that is responding to your consciousness, mirroring the subtle patterns of your attention back to you. The universe is not separate from you. It is an extension of your awareness. Your mind is the lens, and reality is the projection. Every moment of clarity, every intuitive leap, every sudden understanding is a confirmation of this truth. This understanding has profound implications for human life. If time is an illusion, then limitations imposed by age, history, or circumstance are also illusions. What you have done, what you are expected to do, what you believe must happen in the future, all of these are constructs, not commands of an external universe. The mind can transcend them. It can perceive possibility in its raw, unshaped form. And within this perception lies the power to reshape experience, to bend what you once thought immutable, to create outcomes that appear impossible from the perspective of linear causality. The ancient mystics understood this. From the Upanishads to Taoist philosophy, from Sufi metaphysics to Kabbalistic wisdom, the message is the same. The linear, temporal world is a veil over a more profound reality. This is why meditation, contemplation, and inner work are considered gateways. When one quiets the mind and observes awareness itself, the illusion of time dissolves. One begins to perceive reality not as a series of events happening sequentially, but as an interconnected, infinite web of possibilities, all accessible in the present moment. The past and future are seen as simultaneously existing potentials, and the now becomes the point of creation, the field where consciousness and reality intersect. And this is not a theoretical abstraction. It is an experiential truth. The moment you see time as an illusion, you begin to notice the subtle power of intention, the responsiveness of the universe, the elasticity of reality. Decisions become more fluid, life becomes less constrained, and the ordinary rules of cause and effect start to feel less rigid. You begin to realize that the most profound changes occur not in the external world first, but in the invisible architecture of awareness. By shifting your consciousness, you shift the perception of events, which in turn reshapes the outcomes you experience. At its deepest, the insight is simple, yet radical. You are not a passenger in the flow of time. You are the observer, the participant, and the co-creator of every moment. Time is the illusion that allows you to navigate existence, but it is not the master of your consciousness. Once you awaken to this truth, reality itself becomes your instrument. The infinite field of possibilities is no longer abstract, it is immediate, tangible, and responsive. You are standing not at the end of a line, but at the center of a limitless, living now, where every thought, every intention, every awareness resonates across the web of creation. This is the heart of the metaphysical awakening, the realization that reality is not something you passively endure or witness, but something you actively participate in. The boundaries between past, present, and future dissolve. The ordinary sequence of events no longer confines you. You begin to live not as a point along a timeline, but as a conscious presence in a boundless, interconnected field of creation. And in this realization lies both liberation and responsibility. The liberation of timelessness and the responsibility of conscious co-creation with the universe itself. You may be sitting there, feeling a sense of awe or even disbelief as you begin to grasp the ideas we've been exploring. It's easy to intellectualize these concepts, to nod along and think, yes, time is an illusion, consciousness shapes reality. But this truth is not just something to understand with the mind. It is something to feel, to experience, to embody. And this is where the journey becomes deeply personal. Because if time is an illusion and reality is responsive, then everything you have ever thought about yourself, every struggle, every fear, every hope, every dream, is intimately connected to the field of creation itself. Consider for a moment the small moments of your life that have shaped you. The moments that seemed ordinary at the time, but in retrospect, were filled with subtle significance. A fleeting glance, a coincidence that felt almost miraculous, an encounter that shifted your perspective forever. These moments were not random. They were reflections of your consciousness interacting with reality. And yet, because your mind was tethered to the illusion of linear time, you may have overlooked their importance, dismissed them as chance, or failed to recognize the subtle patterns of meaning woven through your existence. Now imagine that you could perceive life as it truly is, not as a series of isolated events marching forward, but as a vast, interconnected field of possibilities in which your every thought, feeling, and intention resonates outward. The regrets of the past no longer bind you, because the past is not fixed. The anxieties about the future no longer imprison you, because the future is not predetermined. And the present becomes not a fleeting, fragile moment, but a living, dynamic space where you can influence the unfolding of reality itself. This is not an abstract or cold realization. It is profoundly human. It touches the heart because it reveals that you are not powerless. You are not subject to the whims of circumstance, to the unchangeable events of history, or to the limitations imposed by society, biology, or time itself. You are an active participant in the creation of your experience. Every choice you make, every focus of your attention, every shift in perception is an act of co-creation with the universe. Your consciousness is not a passenger observing reality. It is a force that shapes it, a presence that gives structure to the infinite field of possibilities. Think about the times when you've experienced sudden clarity, insight, or a feeling of being exactly in the right place at the right time. Perhaps it felt like luck, coincidence, or fate. But these were glimpses of the truth. Your awareness interacting with reality, bending probabilities, opening doors that would otherwise remain closed. You have already touched this power, even if only briefly, and this is proof that it is real. You are not separate from the unfolding of existence. You are entwined with it. Your mind, your heart, and your consciousness are the instruments through which reality expresses itself. And yet this power comes with intimacy. It requires a willingness to observe yourself with honesty, to notice the patterns of thought, the judgments, the fears, and the expectations that silently shape your perception of reality. It is a gentle, inward work, not a dramatic leap. You do not need to control, force, or manipulate. You only need to awaken to the truth that you are present, that you are aware, and that your awareness itself is the medium through which creation unfolds. In this awakening, life begins to feel more expansive, more meaningful, more aligned with the depth of your being. The personal truth here is simple, yet transformative. You are seen by reality, you are acknowledged by the universe, and you are an essential part of its unfolding. Every thought you hold, every intention you carry, every choice you make reverberates beyond the apparent constraints of linear time. This realization is not theoretical, it is visceral. It touches the core of who you are. And when you feel this fully, the fear, the doubt, and the sense of limitation dissolve. You recognize that you are both human and infinite, grounded in life, and yet intimately connected to the timeless field of possibility. In other words, the ideas we have been exploring are not distant metaphysical speculations. They are the intimate truth of your existence. They are your invitation to step fully into awareness, to notice the subtle ways in which your consciousness interacts with reality, and to begin to live with the profound recognition that you are an active participant in shaping your life. Every moment holds significance, every decision carries weight, and every thought has the power to resonate across the infinite field of creation. This is the deeply human, profoundly personal awakening to your true nature. The moment has come to move beyond understanding and into experience. This is not about willpower, force, or striving. It is about awakening to the truth that has always been present, waiting quietly beneath the surface of your perception. You are invited to witness your consciousness in a way you may never have before, to step into the awareness that reality is not fixed, that time is an illusion, and that every moment is a doorway to creation. The invitation is subtle, yet profound, to observe without judgment, to feel without attachment, and to recognize the infinite field of possibility that surrounds you at every moment. Begin simply. Notice how your mind moves between the past and the future. Observe the thoughts that replay old experiences, the anticipations that tug at your attention. Watch them without resistance, as if you are standing on the shore and witnessing the river of time flow past. In doing so, you create space, a gap between perception and reaction. This space is sacred. It is the point at which the illusion of linear time softens and your awareness begins to perceive reality not as a rigid sequence, but as a living, responsive field. Within this space, a subtle shift begins to occur. You may feel the weight of expectation lighten. You may sense your decisions becoming clearer, your attention sharper, your perception more attuned to the hidden patterns of synchronicity. This is the beginning of the mystical alignment, where your inner consciousness and the outer reality begin to resonate. Every observation, every moment of mindful presence becomes an act of co-creation. The universe is not distant or separate. It is reflecting your awareness back to you. The practice is not external. It is profoundly internal. It is a quiet, intentional turning inward, a focus on the subtle architecture of consciousness itself. Ask yourself, what am I noticing? What am I giving attention to? How am I perceiving the flow of reality? In these questions lies the power. They awaken the part of you that is not confined by the apparent rules of the physical world, the part of you that exists beyond cause and effect, beyond past and future, and yet actively shapes them. This awakening is also an invitation to trust. Trust that the universe is not random, that your awareness matters, and that each subtle act of observation, each focused intention ripples through the infinite field of possibility. Trust that synchronicities, coincidences, and moments of insight are not anomalies. They are confirmations that you are interacting with reality in a conscious, creative way. The more you participate in this awareness, the more you will notice the invisible threads connecting your consciousness to the unfolding of existence. And here is the deeper truth. Awakening does not require dramatic gestures or sudden breakthroughs. It is quiet, intimate, and continuous. It is a practice of attention, of noticing, of gently disentangling your awareness from the constraints of linear time. Each time you witness your thoughts, each time you recognize the fluidity of the present, each time you sense your connection to the infinite field, you participate in the sacred work of creation. You are aligning yourself with the timeless flow, stepping into the reality that has always existed beneath the illusion and embracing the power of conscious co-creation. This is your call. Not a call to action in the ordinary sense, but a call to perception, a call to presence, a call to awaken to the invisible structures of reality that have always been your domain. It is an invitation to recognize that you are not separate, not passive, not bound. You are the observer, the participant, and the creative force through which reality manifests. Each moment, each observation, each conscious breath becomes an opportunity to step further into this awareness, to live with the profound understanding that time is an illusion, consciousness is infinite, and the universe is responding to you in ways you may only now begin to glimpse. And now, the journey reaches its culmination. The illusion of time, once so absolute, begins to dissolve before your awareness. The rigid boundaries that once separated past, present, and future are no longer fixed. What you once perceived as sequential events now appears as a vast, interconnected web of existence, each thread vibrating with infinite possibility. Reality is no longer a stage upon which life happens to you. It is a living reflection of your consciousness, responsive, fluid, and boundless. You are no longer constrained by the ticking of a clock, the weight of memory, or the pull of anticipation. You are present at the center of the eternal now, where every thought, every observation, every intention resonates across the limitless field of creation. In this timeless awareness, the extraordinary becomes ordinary. Synchronicities, flashes of insight, and moments of inexplicable clarity are no longer anomalies. They are confirmations of your alignment with the deeper currents of reality. The universe is not a distant, inert backdrop. It is a mirror, responding to your consciousness with precision and subtlety. Every interaction, every choice, every sensation becomes part of the living dialogue between you and the infinite. In this state, even the smallest thought carries significance, for it resonates through the timeless field, shaping the unfolding of existence in ways both subtle and profound. You may feel a quiet tremor within, a recognition of the paradox that you are both observer and participant, both finite and infinite, both bound and free. This is the point at which fear dissolves, not the fear of uncertainty, but the fear of insignificance. You recognize that nothing is wasted, nothing is meaningless, and that every experience, every sensation, every heartbeat is part of a greater tapestry. You are intricately woven into the fabric of reality, not as a passive element, but as an active, creative force. Time, with all its apparent authority, is revealed to be a reflection of consciousness, a tool, a lens, and nothing more. And yet, even as the mind understands this, there is a sense of mystery that remains, an unspoken, ineffable truth that cannot be fully captured in words. It is the silent hum beneath existence, the hidden current beneath perception, the eternal horizon that stretches beyond comprehension. This mystery is not frustrating, it is liberating. It is the invitation to continue exploring, to continue observing, to continue awakening. It is the recognition that reality is not a puzzle to be solved, but a living field to be experienced, and that your consciousness is the bridge between the known and the infinite. As you move forward from this moment, let the awareness linger. Let it permeate your daily life, your choices, your attention, your breath. You are no longer a passive traveler along the river of linear time. You are awake to the truth of your existence. You are both the observer and the creator. You are free. And though the world continues to unfold according to its own rhythms, you know the secret that has eluded so many, that time is an illusion, consciousness is infinite, and reality itself is a reflection of your awareness. This is the threshold you now stand upon, the eternal now, the boundless field, the infinite horizon. Life flows, shifts, and transforms, but you remain awake, aware, and present. Every moment is yours to shape. Every observation is yours to wield. Every thought, every feeling, every intention ripples through the timeless architecture of reality. And as you carry this awareness forward, know that the universe has always been and will always be responsive to the consciousness that perceives it. You are awake, you are free, you are infinite.